Leave my ear alone, right?
What a grouch.
Okay.
Cut it out, Ed.
Give me
Stop
a
it.
kiss.
Not
Come
in
on.
here.
Huh?
Hi.
Hi there. How you doing?
Hey gang, what if Star Wars had a wilder, weirder cousin who showed up to movie night wearing a cape and shoulder pads and somehow stole the show? Steve here from GenX Nostalgia, where we talk about all things 70s, 80s, sci-fi, action, and pure retro goodness. And today we're diving into the gloriously cheap, proudly scrappy space adventures that filled our Friday nights when the rental store was out of the big titles we probably showed up for. We're going to try and answer what movie this is from and why this spacesuit needed huge transparent orbs on its chest. For Gen X, these weren't knockoffs. They were our late-night companions, stop-motion monsters, neon laser swords, and ships shaped like, you'll see. We'll hit the stories, the weird behind-the-scenes bits, and the budgets, and which ones critics loved or roasted. You know what, if you're still here, this movie was definitely made for you. Let's press play.
Our galaxy is split into two warring factions, our own, and the one ruled by the evil Count Zartan.
Gang, let's talk about Starcrash 1978. And I'm going to be honest, I'll need to hear the Count's position before I judge. This is Italian sci-fi mozzarella at its finest. Carolyn Monroe plays a leather-clad smuggler drafted to rescue an imperial prince from the melodramatic Count Zarth Arn, with David Hasselhoff beaming in to fire lasers like he's auditioning for a disco Jedi. The candy-colored miniatures and stop-motion bots feel like a toy aisle come alive. And that giant hand-shaped space station, come on man, that's chef's kiss. This film shot at Cinecittà on an estimated $4 million budget, which is super ambitious for a copycat, complete with financing hiccups and visual effects headaches. It made it though. Monroe and co-star Judd Hamilton were even redubbed in post. Christopher Plummer famously said he took this job because, man, it was shot in Rome. And you know what? No shame in his game. Critically, it lives in the so bad it's fun zone with a low tomato meter but high camp value. Exactly why Gen X just kept renting it. Did it have cultural impact? Well, it's the platonic ideal of Euro Star Wars chic. It's got capes, chrome, and zero shame. You watch Starcrash with a group, you shout lines at the screen, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. and everyone's quoting the Emperor. This one gives nostalgic energy because it proves imagination beats polish when the vibes are right, and it sets the tone for the rest of our list's beautiful chaos. Up next, it's the one where James Cameron literally builds a spaceship with added features, I'll say.
You hear? In less than an hour's time, all that will be left of this planet will be ashes and cosmic dust.
Ruthless invaders, a defenseless planet. Battle beyond the stars.
Okay, on the count, they had her right the first time. He's a little douchey. Next is Battle Beyond the Stars 1980. Roger Corman does 7 samurai in space, and it totally works. Farm Kid Shad hires a squad of oddball mercs, George Papard, Robert Vaughn, Sybil Danning, to defend his planet from John Saxon, chewing through the script like it's space jerky. The secret sauce is behind the scenes. Future legends were everywhere. John Sayles on the script, James Horner blasting an early heroic score, and a young James Cameron kit-bashing models and sets on a thrifty $2 million budget, the priciest Corman picture at the time. Oh, and Shad's living ship Nell, designed with a very anatomically arousing silhouette, we'll say. Even Cameron has joked about the spaceship with tits. Critics were mixed, audiences had fun, and the movie quietly made its money back, and then some, through clever rights deals. For Gen X, this was comfort food. A VHS staple where scrappy effects, wacky heroes, and wisecracking dialogue did the heavy lifting. It's earnest, fast, and just cringy enough to feel like the cool off-brand toy your parents actually bought. This is a perfect bridge to our next entry, because America wasn't the only one firing back at the Star Wars phenomenon. Japan showed up with glowing space seeds and sunny Chiba.
Tingle, dingle, dangle, prangle his transistors. You know, sex.
Can't imagine what it must be like.
Stick with me. You'll get an education.
Planet, 2 million light years away, came a desperate plea for help. Message from space.
I've never wanted to audit a class so fast. Next, Message from Space, guys, 1978. Kinji Fukasaku, And I'm pretty sure I said that right. The guy who later gave us Battle Royale directs Japan's answer to Star Wars, and it comes loaded with mythic space seeds, a galleon-style starship, and Sonny Chiba swinging into action like a samurai in Zero-G. Produced by Toei at a then record cost, roughly $5 to $6 million bucks. This was the most expensive Japanese film at the time, with model work that still charms. US critics in 1978 were mixed to harsh, but that contrast is exactly why Gen X kids rented it. The adventurous heart, the Saturday serial energy, and the joy of seeing familiar space opera beats filtered through Japanese fantasy. The glowing seeds, think like cosmic destiny marbles, choose their champions, and the movie sprints through pulp set pieces like it's late for a date at your local arcade. Legacy-wise, it's a time capsule of late 70s global sci-fi. Disco flourishes, kabuki-style villains, practical spaceships exploding just beautifully. If Battle Beyond felt like a DIY workshop, Message from Space feels like a festival parade. It's louder, it's brighter, and proudly its own thing. Next time someone says, all ripoffs are lazy, show them this ambitious remix. And honestly, speaking of ambitious, one of our upcoming titles heads back to Italy for punk gangs and feathered shoulder pads. And buckle up.
The authorities declare the Bronx a high-risk zone. There's only one alternative: destroy it.
We're going to go with 1983's Escape from the Bronx. The punk gangs are back, and the Bronx is somehow even more flammable. Mark Gregory returns as Trash, now a loner stalking burned-out blocks while a megacorp sends flamethrower disinfestors to clear the borough for a shiny city of the future. Cue block-to-block guerrilla mayhem, Henry Silva sneering like a cobra in a suit, and enough rooftop jumps and slow-mo explosions to fill 3 trailers. This sequel leans into pure trash action joy. Man, it's got alley shootouts, basement rebel hideouts, and that very Italian vibe of dubbing everything after the fact. It even earned a spot on Mystery Science Theater 3000, although it was titled Escape 2000 at the time, which only boosted its cult life on late-night TV and DVD shelves. Reviews were rough. But that's the charm. Gen X kids rented this because it felt like you were watching a bootleg future on a worn-out tape. Behind the scenes, it shot in Rome and New York with Enzo Castellari cranking out beautiful stunts on a shoestring. Compared with American entries on this list, the budget was tiny, but the body count, legendarily not tiny. If your teen years smelled like VHS plastic and pizza, this one will warm your soul. Rebellion as an after-school special with extra napalm. But next up, feathered shoulder pads and exploding arrows abound.
At the beginning of the 21st century, the nuclear holocaust had come to pass, and civilization vanished.
Now we're going to talk about also, I believe, 1983's Warriors of the Wasteland, also known as the New Barbarians. Post-nuke Italy goes full cosplay chic. White vinyl armor, mirror domes, and Fred Williamson cruising in like a Wasteland MVP. The plot's simple in the best way. 2 loners protect a caravan from Zealot Road marauders called the Templars, but the details are delicious. Bubble canopy cars, brutal car stunts, and those infamous arrow gags that detonate like piñatas. The sound department deserved hazard pay for this one. Again, director Enzo Castellari shot outside Rome and admits it was an extremely cheap movie, which somehow makes the homemade futurism land even harder. Every prop looks like it was built in a garage 5 minutes before rolling camera. Critics dinged it as a shameless Mad Max remix, but that didn't stop Gen X from embracing the tape for what it is. An earnest, turbo-sincere sandbox of junkyard cool. On the reception front, the films had sparse critic attention stateside, but the Rotten Tomatoes audience score floats around the so bad it rules kind of zone, which tracks. Budget-wise, think pennies compared to something like Galaxy of Terror's 7-figure spend, yet it still carves out big, goofy set pieces. It's ridiculous, it's glorious, and it tees up our next cyber slice of Euro action like a chrome-plated softball.
Proceed with mission as directed, and don't let there be any mistakes.
Next, we've got Hands of Steel from 1986, also known as Atomic Cyborg, which generally means a studio sold it to a studio, sold it to a studio. Imagine a Terminator meets over-the-top mashup where the cyborg assassin lays low at a desert truck stop and wins fights via arm wrestling. That's Paco, played by Daniel Green, programmed to kill a blind eco-scientist for an evil industrialist, which is John Saxon savoring every line. Sergio Martino directs under a pseudonym, staging helicopter versus big rig chases and motel shootouts with wild, gritty flair. It's got that dusty Southwest vibe because they really shot in Arizona, and the stunts put every lira on screen. The movie's legacy is part fun and part tragedy. Beloved Italian star Claudio Casanelli died in a helicopter crash during production, and it's a somber footnote that fans still acknowledge today. Critically, coverage is light. On Rotten Tomatoes, there's barely a tomato meter to speak of, while the audience score hovers in the low 30s, exactly the zone where cults form on late-night cable. Cost-wise, it's true shoestring stuff next to US genre cousins, but that's the thrill. You can almost feel the duct tape under the chrome. But for us Gen X viewers, this scratches that VHS itch of one more rental before we call it. Then you look up and, hell, it's 1 a.m. and Paco's still winning by sheer wrist torque. Either way, strap in, because our next stop gets slimier and sleazier.
Prepare yourself for the ultimate battle. Galaxy of Terror.
Now we're going to talk about 1981's Galaxy of Terror, and this is Roger Corman's grimiest space-haunted house. It's got corridors of corrugated nightmares, crew members facing their deepest fears, and the notorious giant maggot sequence that made parents hit stop on the VCR super fast. Directed by Bruce D. Clark, it doubles as a boot camp for future heavyweights. A young James Cameron served as production designer and second unit director, pulling low-tech miracles like electrifying a plate to make real maggots wriggle on cue. The budget, around $1.8 million, positively lavish compared to our Italian title today, spent on elaborate sets and gooey creature moments. Critics were split to damn hostile back then and still are. Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter sits in the abysmal 30s, but the cult fandom is strong and incredibly loyal. The film captured something rotten and irresistible about early 80s sci-fi horror. That sense you rented something you maybe shouldn't have, then told everyone at school anyway. Culturally, it was a pipeline. Battle Beyond the Stars, to this, to eventually Aliens. That's stealing credit from 79's Alien, but damn, this is what a lot of Gen X cut their teeth on, showing how Corman factories turned resourcefulness into careers. If the rest of our list is scrappy street racing, Galaxy is the grimy funhouse you dared your friend to walk through first. Bring a flashlight and maybe skip the worm room.
1994. After the oil wars, after the destruction of the cities, a ruthless warlord rules what's left of a radioactive world.
Gang, let's talk about 1982's Battletruck. In a dusty oil wars future, a biker loner named Hunter, Michael Beck from Warriors, squares off with the tyrant who rules from, wait for it, a hulking armored semi nicknamed the Battletruck. Shot in wide-open New Zealand locations, the movie leans into massive practical hardware, real trucks, real explosions, and that mean slope-nosed rig that feels like a diesel dragon. Oscar-winning cinematographer Chris Menges from The Mission was behind the camera, which is why the Corman-adjacent romp looks way better than you'd expect for its size. Released in the US as Warlords of the 21st Century, it sits in that sweet spot between Saturday afternoon matinee cheese and legit action credibility. Critics were cool on it, a 31% in tomato meter, but the fans who find it tend to stick around for the truck carnage. Budget-wise, it wasn't the biggest beast of our list, but it drove home its value with old-school stunts. And for the review scoreboard so far, Battle Beyond the Stars is currently the highest tomato meter of the bunch at 50%, while others in this Wasteland lane lag behind. This one helped push the Mad Max clones out of Italy and into Kiwi country, plus it gave gearheads a cult icon on 18 wheels. Gen X grew up with real metal on screen, not pixels or fiberglass shells. A roaring truck tearing through homesteads. That's VHS thunder. Next up, we're going to talk about an Italian-Spanish desert chase where water is life and dub tracks are chaos.
Hey, you fucking deaf or something?
Exterminators of the year 3000, 1983, gang. The year is 3000. The earth is dust, water's the new gold, a scruffy road warrior named Alien. Yeah, just Alien. teams up with a bionic armed kid and a survivor named Trash. That's the second Trash we've come across. To wrestle H2O away from eyeliner-heavy biker gangs. Who guessed Mary Kay survived the apocalypse? Shot in Spain and Italy, the flick is 100% post-Road Warrior energy. Cobbled hot rods, sunburnt quarries, and we dubbed it ship it kind of dialogue. It also has that charming, we spent half the budget on pyrotechnics feel. Stunts fly, cars flip, and the story pauses to let things go boom. Critics? Down at 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, which makes it the lowest tomato meter title on this list. Fans still argue it's a good time if you meet it halfway, and you could practically smell the gasoline coming from this one. Behind the scenes, it was released under Jules Harrison, which is the director's Americanized credit, with score and sound that screams early 80s Euro genre cinema. The movie's rough edges are its personality. You're here for the clanking, the dust, and a solar-powered hope spot. As for budgets, this one was done on scraps compared to our cost champ Message from Space. That was Japan's mega swing at $5 to $6 million, most expensive in the country at the time. But us Gen X kids rented this for the cover art and stayed for the car mayhem. It's the kind of tape you popped in after homework and quoted on the bus. Time to outlaw cars entirely. And honestly, tell me you remember this next title.
There are things you pretend you've gotten used to. No cars, going to work at a job you don't like, and living by the rules.
This is 1981's The Last Chase. What if the government banned private cars? Former racer Franklin Hart, played by Lee Majors, says, nope, and rebuilds his old Porsche and points it towards free California, while a retired fighter pilot, Burgess Meredith, who totally looks retired, hunts him down from the sky. Gang, that pitch meeting must have been insane. The hook is simple and weirdly prophetic. Pandemics, fuel scares, creeping surveillance, and it's shot across Arizona and Ontario with a real Canadair Sabre jet, standing in for that silver-winged threat. Little aviation nerd candy right there. Did I say that right? Canadair? IMDb pegs the budget about $4.9 million, so it's mid-tier spend for our list. Ambitious road action without blockbuster padding. On Rotten Tomatoes, it sits mid-pack, about 45% on the tomato meter, which tracks. It has earnest ideas, modest thrills, and a third act that coasts instead of red lines. But guys, it's the fall guy. It's the $6 million man. And my ass was in the seat for Majors every time. Cool trivia for this, the highway emptiness and bicycle throngs were shot around Ontario. And if you're from there, you'll clock the Allen Expressway like seeing your childhood mall in a time capsule. The Last Chase is pure Gen X one last drive fantasy. Windows down, rules off, just find the open road and drop it. Every 14 and 15-year-old's dream. These are gloriously scrappy sci-fi and post-apocalyptic oddballs that raised a whole generation on duct tape heroics, model miniature starfields, and explosions you could actually feel. We've run the gamut, man. Italy's fearless rip-off machine, New Zealand's diesel dragon, Japan's go big or go home space opera, and Corman's backlot PhD in stretch-a-dollar filmmaking. But here's the real thing. These movies hit because they felt like they were made by people who love to tinker. Spray paint a car, bolt on a fake arm, throw sparks until it works. That's Gen X DNA. We rented them, taped them off TV, argued about which ship was cooler in the cafeteria, and quoted lines that didn't totally make sense to our young minds, then watched them again anyway. Man, I love that we get to share these wild movies and memories. And what title still haunts you? Which one deserves a 4K glow-up? Man, drop in the comments so we can build the ultimate Gen X trash classic playlist. Take care, guys.